It's a shady tactic, you know. And let me tell you about that Tim Welch. I know you had like some stuff with him, but this fight exposed him as a coach. Because when your guy is winning and knocking people out, sure, you look like a fucking hero. When your fucking fighter is obviously losing the fight and he's fucking losing rounds, Tim Welch was like not wanting to hurt his feeling. Okay, good round. No, it was, you're losing fucking 3 rounds. You got to get in his ass. You got to say, you got to put this. He was afraid that he did not know how to handle his guy in that many rounds. And I thought his fucking corner work was shit. So that's what he's saying. And so he exposed himself in that. You took care of business, and Tim Welch had no answers for his fighter.
What's up, y'all? Another episode of Fight Court. I'm Dean Thomas. That's my boy Ryan Quinn. And the clip you just heard is Matt Serra, my dear friend, Matt Serra on UFC Unfiltered, talking about Tim Welch and his coaching job to Sean O'Malley at Noche UFC. Ryan, this is a heated topic, a heated debate. We have to get into this. We have to let the court know what we think about this subject. Okay, so Matt Serra went all in. And before you talk and before I say anything, I want to add some context to Matt Serra's character. Matt Serra is my dear friend. He's my best friend. And I don't know if there's another human being that I have more respect and admiration than Matt Serra, because he will tell you exactly what's on his chest. He will tell you like it is. And everything he said about Tim Welch right there, he would say to Tim Welch's face. I've seen Matt do things and make situations completely uncomfortable and completely confrontational, but if he feels a certain way about you or has a thought about something, he's going to tell you. And I have respect for that. I wish I was more like that. I'm not.
You're pretty good like that.
I'm a punk sometimes, you know, like John Jones. I'll talk all kind of shit about John Jones. He came around. I'll say, hey, John, how are you? How's the family? But Matt Serra will tell you like it is. And he just has some choice words for Tim Welch. There's a lot to really unpack on that. So I'm going to let you kind of uncover your thoughts on that first.
I don't know why this is such a hot topic. I think that was a world-class coach giving his opinion on someone who's trying to be a world-class coach. You and I actually had a conversation similar to this years ago when I first really started coaching full-time. I remember you and I got Starbucks, and I was just consulting with you about how to put together my program. And the weekend prior, we had a fight where this one fighter who kept making the same mistake over and over again, made the mistake in the fight, ended up losing the fight. And the assistant coach was like, all right, we'll go back, we'll talk. And he's like, after we're in the locker room, and not the assistant coach, love him. But I was like, no, we finally got his attention on what he's doing wrong. He needs to know what he's doing. We need to talk about this right now so he knows. So, and honestly, like, UFC is real as it gets. Why are you sugarcoating it there? Of all times to sugarcoat it, you need to let your fighter know you're not being paid to be his friend. You're being paid to keep him champion of the world. You need to let him know where his faults are so he could correct that. There is nothing wrong with what Matt Serra said. In fact, I think that Tim Welch should call Matt Serra and ask him for his coaching curriculum and how he would have coached him for the rematch. No qualms here.
That's it's funny because we have the same sentiment about this, and I have a lot of respect for Tim Welch. I respect him because what he did with Sean, technically coming up and getting him to the championship level. It's not easy to do, regardless of how they manage their relationship and how they manage the floor. But I will say this: it was very evident on the dynamic of their situation based on how that played out. And this couldn't have been the first time that he was kind of sugarcoating things and so on and so forth. So I'm actually going to see if I can't step in Tim Welch's shoes for a moment and add some light on this. Because from Tim Welch's perspective, I get it sometimes. When you're coaching fighters, especially at this level, you have to play psychologist, friend, confidant, babysitter. And sometimes, and Tim was like, oh, I know how to talk to my fighter. But that's what it is. It's like all throughout his career in his camp, he was probably babying him in some way and trying to keep the energy positive. And sometimes we confuse reality with just going, oh, we can't have negativity in the camp. He's just a hater. We got to get rid of him because he's negative. So we need positivity. So when somebody's telling you the truth, it's like, no, we got to get rid of him. He's a hater. And this happens all the time in camps. Oh, he's a hater. He's so negative all the time. We only need positivity.
Fighters are so fucking soft.
And again, that's what it comes down to. And it might be a generational thing. It truly might be a generational thing. And we always complain about participation trophies, and everybody complains about participation trophies until they don't get one. Oh, where's mine? Like, oh, I can't believe they're giving participation trophies out, but where's mine? Right? Like, that's the society we live in. And MMA to me is a sacred place, as I think it's a place that we shouldn't have it. This is why I can't coach, Ryan. This is why I don't really coach a lot of fighters. I come in as a consultant from a technical aspect. This is how it's done. This is what's going to make you better. It's your job to go out and perform. If you don't want it, that's on you, not on me. That's why like the last time I got heated in a corner was Tyron Woodley when he lost to Kamaru Usman. And I got heated, man. I got heated. I was like, yo, what? I was like, dog, you had me out in camp for months to deliver this bullshit? I was heated. And people gave me a lot of props for that, for speaking to him that way. But that was the last time I did it. Nowadays, I'm kind of like, man, this is what you gonna do? All right, well, you gotta look at yourself in the mirror. I'm gonna be fine if you lose. But you gotta lose, you gotta look at yourself in there. This is why I don't think of myself as a coach no more. I can't take it. I'm not like Eric Nixon. Yeah, I'm not like Eric Nixon and Safe Saud. They get in their fighters' asses. I don't do it.
I'm gonna flip it on you real quick, then we'll go back to this. So, what were the adjustments you wanted Woodley to make in that fight?
Anything other than what he was doing. No, like the game plan in that fight was to go forward and walk Usman down. Have Usman moving around and backing up. Usman doesn't change directions well. Like, he started having knee problems back then, and he doesn't change directions well. So the idea was to get him going backwards so that he had to come forward and shoot. But Tyron went backwards and allowed Usman to dictate. Again, I
always felt that if Tyron learned how to stand his ground and just move his head, that would have been enough. Because sometimes standing your ground is going forward. I always felt if you learn how to do that a little bit. Anyway, we'll go back to it. Tim Welsh, you're on the spot right now, not Tyron.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. And it's easy to criticize after the fact and when it's over, so on and so forth. But I've been there, Tim. I've been there. I know what it's like. I know what it's like dealing with. And I'm not even dealing with a fighter at that level right now, right? Somebody who's that popular, that hot, who's probably has to have it his way all the time. And that's what happens, man, is that these fighters, they pay in the bills. They pay in the coaches. They pay in the sparring partners. They pay. So when he show up one day and go, man, my wrist hurts. Tim Welch's like, come on, man, you could. Oh, why are you being negative? I got to be healthy. You know what, Sean, you're right. Come on, buddy.
He did say something in the fight too. He said, like, we're almost through this or something like that. He said, like, we're almost through this.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder. I know, like, the hip injury and stuff, how severe was it? Maybe they were just showing up. But I don't know. I still don't think he gets a pass on that. You showed up here to fight. You showed up here to work. You got to put that work in. This is what we came here for. That's how I look at it. Matt Serra, innocent.
Yeah, Matt Serra, innocent. Matt Serra.
That's what we should do on here. We should hand out, when we hand out guilty verdicts, we should just make up some bullshit punishment.
Nah, I thought Matt went in on that, and I can't stress enough how much I know Matt would have told that to Tim. Like, for me, I would say that shit here, but when Tim come around, I'm like, "What's up, Tim? Man, how's everything? Hey, man, everything going good with camp?" Like, I'm not going, but Matt would be like, "Yo, dude, you were exposed. and he got, I mean, I'm not saying Tim was exposed as a coach. I think their relationship from coach to athlete was exposed. And then after the fact, when Sean O'Malley comes out and says, I won rounds 1, 3, and 5, and they're going over it. I mean, that's completely ridiculous. And then they're all co-signing off on that, which to me,
yeah, they're all watching it.
Yeah, it further makes that relationship more unrealistic.
Mm-hmm.
Makes that idea unrealistic.
It reminds me of like a posse in a movie, like Bradley Cooper's friends in Wedding Crashers that followed him around. Like, it's just, there's one ringleader and then
they're like, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too with fighters. Fighters are so funny, man. And Ryan, you know this as well as I do. They always complain about participation trophies until they don't get one.
Mm-hmm.
And then they complain about other fighters only having yes men around them while they only have yes men around them.
Yeah. It's and they don't see it. They don't see it.
And they don't because in their head it's different. In their head, they can justify the people around them because they're part of the camp. They've always been there. They're positive. But at the end of the day, they're still your yes men.
Mm-hmm.
If they're agreeing with everything you're saying and you're not having, good conversations, they're agreeing with everything you're saying.
So if you find yourself, not that we have found ourselves, actually, no, you know what? Okay, I'm lying. I almost found myself getting into that situation with one of my fighters. I got close with a bunch of my fighters, but I always made sure I kept it respectful. I never cared about who they were dating or what they were doing outside. Because you know what? I'm your coach. I'm not supposed to be your friend. That's how but I found myself, they were good kids. They were good guys, 8-10 years younger than me. And I found myself to a couple of them, I was getting closer and, I found that they were going a little bit lighter in practice. I had to sit them down and be like, hey, listen, guys, I kind of looked the other way for a little while, but I can't, your career's hurting with this. Your fights are hurting with this. We got to step it back up. We got to demand more out of ourselves here, and if they see you slacking off, they were better fighters then the rest of the team's going to slack off. So guys, remember why we got here. Remember where we want to go. You got to let me be able to criticize you. I can't just let you come here to hang out. You don't pay for that regardless. How would you handle that situation if you find yourself falling into that position with a fighter? Let's say you're Tim Welsh now and you want to flip it around.
It's tough now. So me and Alan Joban talked about this, and Alan was saying they got to bring somebody else in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't have to be a full-time guy, but they got to bring another set of eyes in and another voice that maybe not so close to him that can tell him the truth and to offer the opposite perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important too, is the opposite perspective. I was teaching, I was up at Dan Donaldson's place yesterday, and there was a young man in there who, he's got his little garage full of these little young amateur fighters. And there was a young man in there who was really heavy on film study and Barry Robinson and all his system. And he challenged me on some stuff, man. He challenged me on some footwork stuff on the L step and all this and that. And I was so happy that I had that level of challenge. I had somebody challenge me, especially a young dude like that was just like, yo, I know my shit too. And I was like, I loved it because just because I say it don't mean it's right.
Right.
So it forced me to look at my theory on footwork in a different way, to go, all right, let me think. Am I right? Or maybe there's something to this.
Mm-hmm.
So every camp kind of needs that. And this is the problem with camps, is that the whole Creon's loyalty thing still spills over in today's MMA to where guys don't want to seek out other people and information. So they spend their money on getting strength and conditioning coaches and nutrition coaches and nutritionists. But the reality is they need to seek out more information from specialists in certain areas. So Tim Welch said he was shocked that Merab was shooting double legs and getting double legs on.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Like what? Like of all things,
Jeez.
of all things.
I didn't know they were wearing gloves in this fight. What the fuck?
Like to me that was probably an issue in scouting where they needed somebody to be like, hey man, listen, he shot 50 times against Piotr Jan.
Mhm.
At some point, he's going to be in on a double.
Yeah. What's he setting it up with?
Yeah.
Does Tim Welsh? What's his background? Like, I know he's got like 20 something pro fights.
Yeah, and Tim Welch was he was a decent fighter. He
Mhm.
understands MMA. He's done a tremendous job with building Sean O'Malley. But
Yeah.
I think part of that is the fact that Sean O'Malley is his racehorse, and he's
Yeah.
got to take care of it in a certain way, and he can't lose it. And you got to talk to it in a certain way, because if you're mean to it, it's going to leave and go to somebody else.
Another stable. Yeah.
Yeah, and that and when you think about it, because they came from the lab with John Crouch,
Mm-hmm.
and John Crouch don't play that bullshit. John Crouch don't play that. That's why fighters be leaving these big camps when they have coaches that are, in my opinion, honest and strong and powerful. But for some fighters, it's too much for them. They too much for them. Like Saif Saud, he getting your ass. You fuck up, he getting your ass. Eric Nixick, you doing bad, he getting in your ass.
How many fighters have really, and it's funny because in boxing it's effective, but how many fighters in MMA have you seen? It's just the culture that have put themselves in that situation where they build a team around them and have stayed successful.
I think you have to be at a certain level to make that work.
But how many? You can name somebody that it's worked for.
They built the team around them that made it work.
Yeah.
Probably, I think Ilya Taporia has done it.
Okay.
From what I understand, that's how he operates.
All right, but regardless, okay, you got one. You got.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not often that it works a lot.
No, no.
So,
but I think you have to be at a certain level where you deserve that.
Mm-hmm.
And your fights are so specific that you need that. And you got to be able to afford it too.
That's the other thing.
Yeah. Like no one can really afford that. Like I think if you could afford it, it probably would work. Like if you could really afford the best guys, it probably really would work. But no one can really afford that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot.
A lot. But for Sean, I think that he's got to go back. Well, I don't even necessarily think going back to the drawing board is the answer for Sean. I think just being honest with himself and some self-actualization to go, man, I lost this fight.
Yeah.
And I lost this fight, and I needed a corner that could tell me that I was losing the fight. So, guys, I need you. I'm sorry for making you baby me all these years. I need you to tell me what's up.
Mm-hmm. And we got to flip the switch right now and not watch this fight on YouTube and make up winning rounds.
Yeah, I won rounds 1, 3, and 5. Like why? Like I remember watching that first round and thinking when it was over, thinking, "Damn, this is too easy for Merab."
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, "Is Sean even here?"
So I fell asleep. And then I woke up and oh shit, put on the first round, and then I looked at my phone and I saw the decision, and I'm like, oh. And then after round 3, I was like, well, I know how this fight's like, like I already knew that it was a shutout. Like, like it didn't matter. So it was shit. Yeah, that's really, it's really discouraging that he feels that way, because I really liked, granted, I'm not the hair, that's not me, but I thought he was good for the sport. I think he's good for the sport. And he's doing right by with his money and stuff like that. He's putting into like investment real estate and stuff like that. And I think stuff like that is good for these athletes to see what to do to take care of themselves for later. But I don't want to see a guy making excuses and making shit up they're not true with himself either. So I hope he flips that around.
Well, I'm glad that he's doing that too, because I made a little bit of money. I'm opening up a record label. I got one record label coming out.
Oh shit!
Yep. And I just bought rims.
You did?
On my new car, some spinners, So I'm doing real good with my money. I'm just
what
kidding.
I did with my money, I bought this T-shirt. That's what
you got that free ass Coconut Creek T-shirt.
That was my Christmas shopping every year. I just went in the back room.
Primo, hook it up.
Yeah, exactly.
So in other news, speaking of takedowns, another coach that don't take no shit. Like the dudes in the big gyms don't take no shit. They don't have time for that. John Wood. Damn, why couldn't I lost his name for a minute? John Wood from Syndicate. He's coaching Khalil Roundtree. Thinks that Alex Pereira is going to shoot a takedown on Khalil Roundtree. What do you think? Do you think Alex Pereira shoots a takedown on Khalil Roundtree?
Only if he gets bored. I don't see it happening. I think that the way the style of the fight, it doesn't make sense for Alex to try to set up a takedown. His level change for takedowns isn't all that good against a striker like Khalil. He just puts himself in too much danger for not having good takedowns. I think that because of the striker Khalil is, I think that typical Alex creating angles and just counter strikes, counter hooks, counters 3-2s is the way to go. Try to have kicks to slow him down. The style just doesn't make sense to start experimenting with that. Now, if the fight is like 2-1 in round 4, maybe. But why? I don't see it happening unless he said like Alex is losing and then Alex is going for a takedown to switch the game plan up. But it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
I don't know. I don't think Alex shoots a takedown either. I do know that. That's what I'm leaning towards that. Alex doesn't shoot a takedown. I don't think either of them shoots a takedown. I just have this feeling that Khalil Roundtree is going to win.
Do you?
I do. I don't know why. I just feel like Khalil Roundtree has that ability to win against anybody, even though he might not be better than you. And
I have won some underdog money on Khalil Roundtree.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
And all he needs is one moment for the stars to align for him.
You know what I think his moment is? In the first 3 minutes of the fight.
That was what I was going to say, man. I was thinking like Khalil Roundtree comes out and he's southpaw, so the calf kick's not going to be as effective.
Mm-hmm.
And Khalil Roundtree I don't know how long his arms are, but I just see him like throwing a good shot and dazing Alex, and then Alex getting a little wobbly, and then Khalil just closing the door, just sealing the deal and becoming the world champ. And then we have a new unpopular champ in the UFC.
Nah, if a quick turnaround rematch sounds that's attractive. If you want to see that.
Yeah. And so it's not the worst possible outcome for Khalil Roundtree to win, because we get a rematch. Mm-hmm. In which I think Alex wins in the rematch. He's a little more cautious and fights a little bit better of a fight. But I just have this feeling that, I know Alex trains all the time. I know him and Plenio, they be traveling the world. They be in all these different countries training and everything. But I just have this feeling that Khalil, the stars just align for people sometimes. Like the universe just says, dog, I got you. Just show up and I'll take care of the rest. And I just have that feeling that this is one of those fights that Khalil Roundtree gets his moment. He has his moment after everything that he's been through. He's had some losses. He's had some very emotional moments in front of the world with the UFC. And I feel like this is the time that he's going to have his moment and be a world champ. It's not going to last long, but he will touch gold. That's just what I feel on this.
Well, you know about upsets with Matt Serra, so
That's what I'm saying.
You know what's sad?
Very similar to that.
I feel like MMA today forgets about that upset, and that is the greatest upset in MMA, maybe sports history. I feel like MMA fans today forget about Matt Serra knocking out George St. Pierre in the first round. And it's sad. When was the last time you heard of an MMA fan bring that up?
It doesn't happen. Like most people don't even realize that Matt Serra was a fighter.
Yeah, I know, let alone world champion.
But such a world champion that knocked out the greatest welterweight of all time in the first round after winning a reality show to get a spot to fight for the title.
Yeah. And that, I remember that was Randy Couture's first wrong pick when he got in the booth. I remember that was his first wrong pick. He said, George St. Pierre is too much for Matt Serra.
It's an easy pick to make. I mean, I don't even remember what the odds were. I'm sure we can look that up, but it was an easy pick. I mean, outside of Matt Serra and Ray Longo, who else had Matt Serra winning that fight?
Not me.
Like, no, not many people did. Like, I remember watching that. I remember watching that fight at a bar.
He's your best friend. You're gonna have to answer this.
Yeah.
Who did you have?
No, but that's my dog. So, like, I mean, I wasn't in a position to make picks, but I was rooting for him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm rooting for Matt. And Matt goes out, he's firing off right hands to the body, and I'm like, oh, here comes one over the top.
Yeah.
And bink, and George goes down, and we're like, oh, and I was so happy. Just like I wasn't in a position to be like, all right, this is who I think is going to win. I was just like, man, I hope Matt can pull this off. I know it's a tall ask, but I hope he can pull it off.
I remember the whole thing. So George didn't fall initially; he slipped. He if you remember, he stumbled, and then Matt, like it was on the freaking, what do you call that? The Hempstead Turnpike in Long Island, just like it's time to go. and then he knocked him out. I couldn't believe it. I was like, up until the ref called it, I'm like, he's gonna come up. There's no fucking way. Holy shit. Oh man, that was amazing. I gotta watch that fight now. When did you guys get close? When did you guys get close? Like
me and Matt,
or during the UFC?
We got close in the house.
Okay.
Because we were in the house in that same season.
Right. I remember.
So we fought, and we were like arch enemies prior to us fighting. We were like, since 2001, me and Matt Serra were enemies. From 2001 to 2005 or 2004. 5. We fought in 2004. We were enemies since 2001. Fought in 2004. I won the split decision, even though they announced him as the winner. Then we went on the house in 2006 and became best friends.
It's crazy how that works out.
It's crazy how it works. And that's why I be telling fighters now, like, be careful with the dudes that you talking shit about.
Especially in this game, they're all often just like you.
That's what I'm saying. They're all just like you.
Yeah.
I'm watching these guys at weigh-ins and press conferences going at it for no reason. I'm like, that dude's just like you. You would be his best friend if y'all have different circumstances. Like if y'all weren't fighting each other, y'all could possibly be best friends. Y'all have so much in common.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all probably like the same stuff. Why are y'all beefing for no reason? It doesn't. You can still fight hard and not have to go at each other like this.
So I didn't like Dan Kramer when I first met him. He was too handsome. He defended all my takedowns. I just couldn't deal with it. And then we were out one night, and it's so stupid. So we're out one night and we're at a bar, and someone drops a beer bottle and the glass breaks. And then he just goes dun-dun-dun-dun-dun, like Stone Cold. And immediately after he heard the glass break, like Stone Cold's music, and that was it. Like, did we just become best friends?
That's all it took, right?
Yeah.
All it took was that common bond of that music to know that y'all had that in common, and you're like, we're best friends now.
Yeah.
Telling you.
Oh man.
Young fighters, stop beefing with your opponents.
Yeah. There's plenty of fight. You don't need it with that.
You
bullshit.
don't need it. Yeah. I get it. You're selling the fight, but You're doing a terrible job of selling a fight. Like these guys, they talk about selling a fight. No one still wants to watch it. No one,
Yeah. Nobody cares.
no one's. We still don't care.
Yeah. What's your name again?
Yeah. Yeah, I watch these guys going, yeah, I'm just selling a fight. I'm like, yeah, but you still on the prelims and no one's watching.
Yeah. Nobody cared that you trained with him and he didn't want to train again.
Yeah.
We've read that book. We've read it already.
Just put on a good fight, dude. That's all we care about. So, but Ryan, let's get up out of here. It's been real.
Yeah.
Glad I got your takes on this stuff, important stuff. But if you like the show, hit like, share, subscribe, comment, and tell your friends. And we do have some pretty interesting news coming up, but I'm not going to share that now. We're going to share that later. But
Yeah.
So on that note, this court is adjourned.
Check out Fight Bananas. Check out Fight Bananas later.